Now let's talk about Kyle Shanahan and Garoppolo. Thoughts on Kyle's comments on Garoppolo? I laughed when he said it. Yeah, I laughed too because it's so Shanahan. Most coaches try really hard to sound upbeat and positive. Robert Saleh, for example, he really wanted to be positive about his guy and showed that he knew about offense and sound like a leader. Shanahan doesn't really care. I think he either sees himself as Bill Belichick 2.0 or he just doesn't have time to be political. So look, I've always said that if you think I'm tough on Jimmy Garoppolo, you'd be shocked to think what Kyle Shanahan really thinks of him. And he doesn't even really hide it. If you ask him, he'll tell you. He's extremely tough on Jimmy. Doesn't mean he doesn't believe in Jimmy. He just feels that Jimmy has a long way to go, even though they can win with him. And we saw that today. So when he said, when he was asked, has Jimmy, has he improved his decision-making? Kyle's like, I'm not going to give him praise he hasn't earned. From Kyle's perspective, let's see what happens when he goes against a defense that isn't the 49ers. Let's see what happens week 1. And I think it's so interesting because Kyle Shanahan just heaps praise on Kirk Cousins. You'll be like, hey, Kyle, what about Kirk? You really like him? Oh man, Kirk, he's great. He never makes a bad decision. He's like a coach on the field, all that stuff. But for Jimmy, it's like, well, you got to remember he's only had X amount of starts, and really he's like a second-year quarterback, and all these caveats for Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's the head coach. That's Kyle Shanahan. I'm over here saying, I think he probably needs to turn the ball over a little less. I think he could, put a little more mustard on his throws, work on his downfield passing. Kyle Shanahan is way harsher than that. He's like, well, he's got to prove it. Is he a better decision maker than last year? We'll see. And remember, his best friend, Chris Sims, recently ranked Jimmy Garoppolo like the 20th best quarterback in the league. I think if you could give Kyle Shanahan truth serum, he'd rank him right there too. And I would rank him higher than that. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's higher than that. But from Shanahan's perspective, Garoppolo throws the shortest passes in the league or right down there with Derek Carr and Drew Brees and still commits too many turnovers. So all those short passes, in Shanahan's mind, are schemed open by him. And the other day when Jimmy Garoppolo had success in the red zone, Shanahan said, yeah, well, he had better looks, meaning, well, he had wide open receivers. He had Jeff Wilson Jr. alone in the flat. He better hit that swing pass, that 7-yard swing pass to a wide open pass catcher. So Shanahan always undercuts him, always. And I don't think it's anything personal. I think it's just you see Shanahan's high standards. And it's funny because Kirk Cousins checks every box and is the highest of Shanahan's standards. But what Shanahan looks for is like three things. He wants a guy who's tough, who stands in the pocket, who makes the right decision quickly, and who can get the ball down the field. After that, Shanahan thinks he can take care of it. Everything else he can do. But he needs you to quickly be able to process the defense and find the right receiver because he's going to be open. Shanahan's that good in Shanahan's mind. And Kirk can do all that. In Shanahan's mind, Kirk Cousins can be Matt Ryan for him. They can have that kind of success with a quarterback who's that smart and also has the arm to go down, the arm to match. Jimmy has a great arm. The Niners love his arm. Love it. I mean, he really does spin a nice ball before he tore his ACL, but it's coming back. But the decision-making, they can't trust him. It's inconsistent. That's why in the playoffs, they would have entire stretches where they wouldn't let him throw very much. And they didn't have to throw very much, but again, they're not trusting his decision-making. That's why Robert Saleh harped on it and brought it up and said, it's improving. And I thought like what Saleh said was such a minor bit of praise anyway. It's not like he's saying he's a great decision-maker. He says he's an improving decision-maker. Does he make good decisions? No, he makes quicker decisions. That's as far as Saleh went. It was actually not very high praise. It was backhanded praise presented in a very upbeat, sincere spirit. Like, let's look glass half full, making quicker decisions. And Shanahan is basically like, that's one way to look at it. I mean, if you want to really bend over backwards for the kid, but let's call it what it is. He's facing your defense every day, Robert, and he's faced it every day for 2 years. So I would hope that he'd make good decisions and not drop back and be totally perplexed as to what coverages you were running and what I want him to do against those coverages. He's seen them every day for 2 years or more. Of course he's getting better. That's what Shanahan said. I love that about Shanahan. Jim Harbaugh wouldn't have said that. He just would have been like, yeah, he always gets better. He's got titanium in his spine. He's a trusted agent. Da, 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 you know, cliche, cliche, cliche. Shanahan's like, I can't bear to tell a lie. I just can't bear it. So just remember that when I write something that's not glowing about Jimmy Garoppolo, just remember that his head coach is the most nitpickingest dude of all time. I'm nice to Jimmy compared to Kyle. That's the facts. Is Saleh good cop to Kyle's bad cop? I think there's probably something to that. Because I think of Robert Saleh as being like a co-head coach on the team, even though he's not. But he has complete control over the defense, which makes him kind of like, not complete control, because Shanahan, I guess, gets to come in and say who starts at cornerback and stuff like that. But it's he doesn't know that much about defense. It's Saleh's baby. There's no one over him showing him what to do. Plus, Saleh thinks about the big picture. He doesn't just think about defensive scheme. He thinks about team culture building, mantras, philosophies, how you play the game, not just cover three, not just, the best double A gap blitz. No, he's very much big picture. And so I do think in a way, he might even be more big picture than Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan's growing into that, but Shanahan was very much offense early in his tenure as the Niners head coach. So I think they complement each other very well. Shanahan, he can hardly disguise how acerbic he is. I mean, he tries to be upbeat with the media, but not very. He's very lukewarm with his praise of everyone. And then from what I've heard in meetings, he can be brutal. And that goes back 10 years. Saleh's not like that. He doesn't yell at his players. He's like that teacher in high school who believes in everyone in his class. He's like the stand and deliver guy. He's like stand and deliver. And what's great about Saleh is he really does get people to rise to the occasion. He really does. He's like a real teacher, not just a coach. He's a real empathetic teacher. That's rare in the NFL. These guys are very much loners who like to lock themselves in an office and draw things on a board for 14 hours a day. He's not that kind of guy. So I do think, I don't know if you call it good cop, bad cop, but it's a yin and yang that's perfect. And it'll be interesting to see if and when Saleh becomes a head coach, if Shanahan can hire a defensive coordinator who complements him in that way. I mean, he can find, I'm sure, a good tactician to run his defense, but I also think it's important for him to find a guy who can complement his leadership style. Think about that.